are one. We all are human beings. As South Sudanese, we deserve to coexist peacefully, tolerate one another, reconcile all our differences, and live peacefully. This is a message of tolerance and peaceful coexistence brought to you by iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Welcome to the Sundown Show. On this show, we bring you the movers and shakers of South Sudan and the world over. We engage in debates and discussions that unearth the stories behind the news. And we have our light moments too by chit-chatting about issues that affect our day-to-day life. Stay right here on the Sundown. Join in and be part of the show on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
أهلا ومرحبا بكم في برنامج سانداون على آي راديو. في البرنامج ده بنستضيف شخصيات من حول العالم وبنتحدث معاهم عن القضايا اللي بتهم بلدنا وبتأثر على حياتنا. كمان بنتطرق في القصص خلف الأخبار وبنتبادل الأحاديث الخفيفة عن حياتنا اليومية. شاركونا، كونوا جزء من البرنامج فقط على آي راديو، عينك على جنوب السودان.
Hello and welcome to the Sundown Show on iRadio with me, Madrama James, together with Bachokusha Gawa, the producer of Sundown Show, and Darlington Moses behind the social media coverage. This program comes to you Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for comprehensive look at the daily events, the latest information, in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and exciting surprises. To be part of the show, call us on 0911 986 986 and send for us a text message on 0913 986 986. If you can't access the radio, we are also on Facebook, X to YouTube, and more. You can also stream this broadcast live by logging to our website at iRadio.org. We kickstart this show right here with the latest development coming in from Addis Ababa about the travel and return of President Salva Kiir to Juba. Meanwhile, in the second hour, we shall also shift our focus into youth-related affairs, where the president or the chairperson of South Sudan Youth Union has raised concern over what he described as a low budget allocation to the youth union, saying the current funding is not sufficient to address the many challenges facing young people across South Sudan. These stories and more coming to you in this special show of Sundown, and stay tuned after this break as we kickstart the show.
Tamasmale iRadio and Atakum for Juba, Sudan.
A warm welcome back from the break. We kickstart the show with the return of Salva Kiir Mayardit to Juba following his participation in the 39th edition session of the African Heads of State and Government Summit in Addis Ababa. The head of the state was received at Juba International Airport by Vice President for Infrastructure Cluster Taban Dengai and other senior government officials. According to Foreign Affairs Minister Mandesimaya Kumba, President held a series of high-level bilateral meetings in Addis Ababa aimed at strengthening a strategic partnership and enhancing regional cooperation. During the C5 Plus meeting, President presented a report on the current political situation in South Sudan and outlined the government outgoing preparation for the general election scheduled for December this year. President pledged to restore peace and having an inclusive dialogue with opposition group to ensure inclusive election in December 2026. I caught up with civil society, religious leaders, and that's political analysts to have their reaction on this. But first, we start with Andrea Machmabir on his take about the visit and pledges of His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit.
For the leaders of South Sudan to commit themselves for inclusive dialogue and to commit themselves for peace in South Sudan. The main problem is that most of the parties to the agreement have abandoned the agreement and they are looking for solutions outside the agreement. I think the best way for South Sudan to return to peace is to implement the revitalized peace agreement in letter and spirit. And I don't see how this agreement could be implemented. And I don't see how we could go for a free and fair election in South Sudan when people are fighting in other parts of the country, for example, in northern Jonglei and in Unity State and some part of Upper Nile. These are not promising, and these are not good signs for peace in the country. So I think that we need a real, genuine dialogue between parties to the agreement, and I mean SPLM-IG and SPLM-IO. They need to settle their differences before we can go for any election, because you cannot go for election when people are fighting, when there is no a conducive political atmosphere for election in South Sudan.
Andrea, you sounds like there is a solution within South Sudan, but the government is looking for solution from outside. Now you have seen some of the key actors of the peace agreement are under detention. Then there's also fighting, like you mentioned, in parts of the country. What other solutions that you are seeing within South Sudan?
The meeting of C5 Plus yesterday in Addis Ababa, headed by President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, they were very clear about the peace in South Sudan. They stated that for South Sudan to have a genuine peace and a genuine transition to democracy, there must be a dialogue or release of political detainees. Now it will depend on the government of South Sudan how they will respond to the request from C5 Plus. This will determine the future of South Sudan in the next few months. So I think government of South Sudan need to engage in dialogue with SPLM, IO, and other groups that are fighting in South Sudan, other opposition groups, the armed group and non-armed group. This is the only way we can achieve a lasting peace in South Sudan.
We are remaining with less than 11 months for general election. Now, what other immediate action needs to be taken by government to have what is so-called the inclusive elections? There is a fighting, and there are some other individuals forced out from the country as well.
Of course, when you go for election, there are internationally accepted criteria for any election. The issue is not just to conduct election for the sake of election. When you conduct election, it must be free and fair, transparent, credible election. And for that to happen in South Sudan, first you must have peace. And that is why I'm also pushing for dialogue between the parties to the agreement. They need to engage in a meaningful dialogue that will stop the fighting, and the parties should reach, or the belligerent groups, the belligerent forces should reach some kind of cessation of hostilities, and after that they can go for election. Secondly, when you are going for election, you must guarantee freedom of assembly for the political parties, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly, freedom of press. These are important for any genuine free and fair election in South Sudan. So government needs really to work on that.
Now, we have seen pledges from the government and calls also from the regional bodies, but it seems like nothing is moving forward. Now, what is the hope here?
This is a very difficult question to answer, because the parties, the region, civil society, women group, religious leaders have been calling for implementation of peace agreement. But it seems like some groups are not interested in peace agreement. And it will make it very difficult for South Sudan to transition to democracy if the reform are not made. And one of the most important things that have been neglected is the issue of the integration of forces. Security arrangement is the backbone of the peace agreement. If the security arrangements were implemented, we might not have been to where we are now fighting ourselves. The two forces, SPLM-IO forces and the government should have been united in one conventional army that pledges allegiance to the constitution of South Sudan. But that thing did not happen. The only hope is that leaders of South Sudan will sit down and engage in a meaningful dialogue for the sake of peace in South Sudan. And I think also the effort by President William Ruto is also helping to bring other holdout groups to join peace in South Sudan.
Second last one, President committed his administration to restore peace, which is key according to you. You say the peace is paramount at the moment. Then again, having inclusive, that's election. But how can these words be turned into reality or into tangible actions?
It will be, these words could be turned into tangible actions when President of South Sudan, His Excellency Salva Kiir, call all the other groups for a dialogue. Because there is no other way except dialogue and political will. What we are seeing in South Sudan, leaders of South Sudan will say something, will sign something on the paper, but again do something different. And this is what is derailing peace agreement in South Sudan. So I think we need actions, not words, in this time. The time is limited for election, and I'm not sure whether South Sudan is really in a position to conduct election in the few remaining time, given the complexity of the political situation in the country and the fragility of security situation in South Sudan. So again, there is a need for dialogue.
Finally, what is your message to all the stakeholders to the peace agreement and at the same time citizens?
I think for the government of South Sudan and SPLM-IO and the rest, they really need to sit down. If it is not in South Sudan, they can go to Kenya, go for Tumaini, revive Tumaini, and finish the remaining task in the agreement. That is the only way. And then you need to unify all the forces under one command and disarm civilian and go for a national reconciliation process. That is important. Also, government need to open up political space, guarantee freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly for political parties, freedom of movement. These are crucial for any free and fair election in South Sudan.
Andrea Mach is an independent political analyst speaking to me some few minutes ago. Now for his part, Termanyangad, which an activist welcomed the C5+ meeting yesterday in Addis Ababa. More in this following speech.
I welcome the C5+ meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. As a human rights activist and as such, I warmly welcome the outcome of the C5+ meeting held yesterday in Addis Ababa and the African Union. The engagement of the regional and coordinated leadership in addressing the situation in South Sudan, it demonstrated the renewed commitment to peace and stability and full implementation of the tripartite agreement on the resolution in the Republic of South Sudan are access. I personally note that the constructive proposed engaging the chairperson of African Union to appoint one of the former president for AU member state to support the inclusive political dialogue and advocate for the immediate release of all political detainees and monitor and support the effective implementation of the access, coordinate the activities of the Artigono, and to be provided structured guidance to African Union chairperson for a further determination. The African Union has continued to play a significant role in supporting the smooth implementation of access without delay. The appointment of the respected former head of the state could provide additional political leverage, neutrality, and credibility to accelerating the pending reforms and confident building measures. This release of all political detainees would be a vital step toward a national healing, trust building, and the long-term stability. It would send a strong signal of the commitment to the reconciliation and demonstrate the transition and respect for human rights. South Sudan stand at the critical movement, sustain regional engagement, genuine political will, and adhere to the peace agreement are essential to prevent the further confrontations. The South Sudanese are healing for a durable peace that will benefit all its citizens.
Ter Manyanga Gadwicha welcoming the meeting of C5 Plus in Addis Ababa. Meanwhile, I equally caught up with Bishop Moses Dengbul, the special peace envoy at South Sudan Council of Churches, and I began by asking him when the president pledged to restore peace in the country and held inclusive dialogue with opposition group. According to Bishop, the most difficult obstacle to the peace process is the issue of trust and confidence building, and is therefore appealing for that reconciliation and peace efforts to be enacted in the country.
The call by African leaders, especially the C5, for immediate ceasefire in South Sudan, and also for an inclusive dialogue. And we also welcome the commitment by His Excellency President Salva Kiir for committing himself really to work hard, of course with the support of all the South Sudanese, to restore peace in the country and to commission an inclusive peace dialogue, political dialogue.
Yeah, we have seen, let me give you an example of that Tumaini peace initiative. It came as a hope for the people of South Sudan, but at the end of the day, one of the senior government officials declared it as a dead process. Now, this time around, how would you convince someone that dialogue is a way to go? Well,
we as a church, we believe that there is no any other way, because dialogue is the only way. There is no any other way. The other way is violence, and violence will not resolve anything, as you know. So the fact that Tumaini came to a halt for a while doesn't mean that the dialogue we cannot be able to resolve our differences or the differences among the people of South Sudan through dialogue. Dialogue takes time. It may not succeed in one attempt like it was attempted through Tumaini, but now we have seen that there is a new approach that they are coming up. So if you try this way and it doesn't work, then we can try another way. So we believe that dialogue is still the only viable way that will South Sudanese can be able to reach consensus and be able to move forward with the peace process.
Bishop, in your statement you said dialogue takes time, but if you look at our process in 2013, people went for dialogue, again war. In 2016, people went for dialogue, again conflict. What is really some of the biggest obstacle for the country to have peace?
Well, the biggest thing that we have really seen is the one that is hindering or slowing dialogue or even implementation of the peace agreement down is the limited trust among our political leaders. And this is actually going back to during the war, when there were disagreement among the leaders and even a split within the SPLM, SPLA. Those issues were never resolved, because in other countries, when the war ended, usually it's followed with the Truth, Reconciliation and Healing Commission, as we have seen in other countries that we have gone through the war. We have not been able to do that in South Sudan, and that is the only way you can restore trust and confidence among not only the leaders but even the people. And because we have not been able to do that as people of South Sudan, that is why you see all this intercommunal conflict. You see also a lot of political disagreement among our political leaders. As a church, we have been able to do something. During the Addis Ababa peace talks, there was one session that was given to the church leaders, led by our current primate, who is also the chair of South Sudan Council of Churches, Dr. Jason Badiarama, and it helped. It did not resolve the issues immediately, but it helped build some confidence and trust among the leaders. In the same way, when the Tumaini began with the first delegation, the Bishop in Oktombe and Sheikh Jalal Nabi, they were able to lead the stakeholders in a dialogue among the people of South Sudan, especially the delegate to the peace agreement. And that helped. That is why the first delegation were able to make progress. And then, but when the delegation was changed, there was that process which took place. And that's why you saw it came to a stall for a while. But of course, we believe, as I mentioned earlier, that dialogue is the only pathway to peace in South Sudan, and therefore we continue to call for dialogue and call for a ceasefire. In their December Christmas message, you are aware that the church, the head of churches, the head of churches that make up the South Sudan Council of Churches, they actually issued a statement, a Christmas pastoral message, where they call for a ceasefire and an inclusive political dialogue. And so that is why we believe that is the only way. And it is biblical. In the book of Isaiah, God calls upon the children of Israel. He said, come, let us reason together. Let us dialogue. Because dialogue, and another word of reasoning is dialogue together and resolve the issue. So we believe that Tumaini is not dead. It just stalled for a while, but it just needed a new approach, which I believe can be adjusted in any way that can be able to meet the needs of the parties.
Bishop, according to you, what is really slowing down the peace process or dialogue in the country is the issue of that trust and confidence. Now, how can this be rectified, yet some part of the country is at war? How can trust and confidence be built among the political leaders?
As I said earlier, the only way you can build trust and confidence among not only the political leaders, but even the people of South Sudan, is to open up a space where people can speak the truth, can speak out, and then that saying of the truth will lead to reconciliation, and reconciliation will lead to healing. We have seen in other countries, we have seen in South Africa, Sierra Leone, and other countries that have gone through war. For you to be able to move away from the past atrocities and challenges that people have gone, disagreement that people have gone through, you really need that process so that people can heal and move forward. And then there will be a forgiveness once people have spoken the truth, and that forgiveness is what leads to reconciliation, and then reconciliation leading to healing. The former South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu said there is no future without forgiveness. It is true of South Africa, and it is true also of South Sudan today. Until we reach to the level where we forgive one another as people of South Sudan, we cannot be able to move forward.
After the pastoral message at Christmas Eve 2025, we have witnessed a wave of disagreement in Jonglei State, in Eastern Equatoria, particularly Capoeira, in Panyume of Central Equatoria, and then Warabi State. Now, someone would be asking why are calls from religious leaders not respected in this country?
As I said earlier, the issue is that there has never been forgiveness among the people of South Sudan, and there is really a gap, the issue of a gap, because there is still the bitterness that is in the hearts of the people. So that is why it looks like they are not listening, but people are listening. There are a few people who have listened to this, and they have accepted the call by the church leaders. But of course, until we reach to the level where we have gone through the healing process, that call may not be responded to by everybody.
Now, at this critical moment where the country needs peace more than ever before, what will South Sudan Council of Churches be doing during this time? Because others are even accusing of finger-pointing the council of just being in Juba here, not even moving to states where there is a disagreement, there's also conflict happening. What are some of the roles?
In October last year, the church leaders went to Kenya and they issued a document called the Church Process for Healing and Reconciliation. That document actually mandated the secretariat here and the member churches to work for peace at 3 levels. At the grassroots, using what we call neutral forums, where we bring the community leaders, the religious leaders, the youth, the women together for a dialogue to reach consensus and to resolve intercommunal process through that dialogue. You remember during the war, the New Sudan Council of Churches by then used that approach, where they held so many peace conferences in different parts of southern Sudan by then, culminating in the Wounded Peace Conference in 1999.
Well, that was Bishop Moses Dangbul speaking to me. And finally, let's hear from Edmond Yakani, the Executive Director for ASEPO.
I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit of the Republic of South Sudan and their delegation and other excellencies, presidents that have attended the AUC5 Plus meeting, like His Excellency President William Ruto of Kenya. The outcome of the meeting of the AUC5 was impressive. It have responded to our expectation. It have met our objectives. The roadmap pillars of the meeting, it have responded to what we wish to see as the outcome of the meeting. Immediate holding of ceasefire and de-escalation of the military confrontation. Immediate commissioning of an inclusive political dialogue that involve everybody, even those who are signatory and non-signatory to our access. Release of the political detainees, including the suspended His Excellency First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and other political detainees, and commitment to agree upon a minimum standard for the conduct of the election as scheduled for December 2026, and also ensuring that the country enter to a moment of reconciliation, forgiveness, and making sure that a good enough conditions were created for credible and peaceful election in the country, and more other decisions that are associated with the outcome of the AUC5 Plus meeting. The roadmap, as I repeat myself, is convincing. Our next appeal as a civil society is calling upon the leaders of African Union at the level of the African Commission and at the level of African Union C5 to commit themselves to continue the engagement they have that lead to this outcome or the roadmap of AUC5 on South Sudan transition. This is very impressive because we have seen African Union sometimes pushing harder for paperwork to be achieved like what we have seen. But later on, African Union relax in ensuring that whatever is enshrined in the paper is translated into an action. So we demand African Union to commit themselves to this outcome of the AU-C5 Plus meeting. And as a civil society, we have to inform AU that from today, we will establish civil society African Union tracker on transitional process in South Sudan. This will be a platform where we as civil society have a regular engagement with the African Union for the implementation of the outcome of AU-C5 Plus meeting. Similar demand, we urge the President of the Republic of South Sudan, His Excellency President Salva, to show full commitment in the same manner that he have made us so impressive in reaching out to this outcome. The same spirit should be applied for the implementation of the outcome of the AU-C5 Plus meeting. We have seen similar commitments in the past, and normally when we come back home, some individuals whom we term them as spoilers will spoil the outcomes, and they'll provide misinterpretation, dragging of it for timely implementation of a such decision. Therefore, we are urging Your Excellency President, we need to see a serious commitment, and some of the subordinates under your leadership that like to jeopardize and doesn't want to implement such resolutions should be held accountable. Finally, we would like to inform South Sudanese that it's a high time for us as South Sudanese to make sure that we follow such process. It's our civic responsibility and constitutional responsibility to hold our leaders accountable in a non-violent manner as long we are not violent. Therefore, we are calling upon the citizens that as civil society, we will work on this AU civil society tracker platform, and we'll make sure that these AU-C5 outcomes are disseminated to the knowledge of the best interests of the city of South Sudan. And of course, we will have a platform for tracking, monitoring the implementation of these outcomes at the level of African Union, at the level of the government of South Sudan. Thank you very much.
Edmoni Akani is the Executive Director for Community Empowerment Progress Organization, better known as SEPO.
It's a Baghdad Diamond Wenisuma iRadio ala nimrata telefon 0911-986-986 au itabi reselu risala ala nimra 0913-986-986.
Well, before I start to receive your calls right here, allow me to do two things. One, to thank my colleague Michael Daniel and Wal Mapal for stepping in for me. And number two is taking this time also to appreciate those who have confirmed to us where they're really watching this show from Bona, Manuta, Mjok, Doska, Lisa, Deng, Philip. We have MB Urube, Spark Down, and Watska. Silva joins us live from that Bugemba University. He welcomed President Salva Kiir back to Juba from that African Union Summit in Addis Ababa. But this time, let the peace resolutions land safely to the plane, right? And then we have Pitia connecting live from Bidibidi refugee settlement coming Yumbe, that's West Nile, Uganda. Jacob is streaming this show live from Juba right here. We have Gajang Thiep joins us live from Fanga County. Lazarus Hillary from Rwanda. We have a text coming in from W. Christopher George joins us live from Western Equatoria State, Yambio, also known as Greentown. We have Farukovic Mbappe joins us live from Madingbor. Let your comment keep on coming via that's our Facebook page, and it's high time now for me to receive a first caller of the show. iRadio. iRadio.
Madrama James.
Ustaz Tolfuk.
Absolutely, أنا مبسوط جدا جدا أن أنت موجود الليلة.
شكرا أخونا. كيف قسم قريبي؟
والله يا أنا كويس
نعم.
لكن يوم هذا يوم 20 يعني يكون يوم بتاع عمليات.
أليكسا.
يوم 20 قلت لك يوم 20 كل يوم بتعمل يا
ما في مشكلة نينا برو كمان بكوتي تفيدين بتاع ربنا وإن شاء الله عملية يدور بالعافية.
امين.
نعم.
ولا أنا بشكر إنت وأنا بشكر المانجمنت بتاع هاي راديو، لأنه زمان كان أنت ما زي زمان أني قاعدين نتكلم وانا في سانداون زي أني قاعدين نتكلم، لكن ده نقول لك لو أنت تمشي جيب زول نجيب زي كده عشان سانداون يكون يعني أو السنتر بتاع أخبار، لأنه السيدن بيتكلم حاجات زي البروجرام اللي نمشي فوق ونتكلم فوق ده، عشان ده نقول لك عشان انت لو تمشي زياره في المكان انت تمشي فوقه لازم انت تجيب زول تجيب زيك، لانه زمان كان فوقه مويا جاكوب كان تماما، لو كان انت تجيب يعني تماما، لكن لو انت تمشي تجيب زول زيك كده، لانه ما تجيب زول ما بعمل حاجه، جيب زول بعمل حاجه، لانه اللسنه ريجلس داير زول يكون زول هويا زي كده عشان يكون تماما.
نعم.
ايام انت ما في ده بروجرام بتاع ب3 نفر 4 نفر ده يا شغل ما شغل.
نعم شكرا. نعم نخش في مناقشة. الرئيس بقول هو بيشتغل بذات مع اوبوزيشن عشان كيف في انتخابات بتاع 2026 يدور بسلامة. انت بقول شنو يا تولفوكا؟
نعم للانتخابات بتاع جنوب السودان، لانه اننا مواطنين دارين انتخابات عشان يكون في المال، لكن هنا مناسب خليه سلام. انا متابع الفج بتاع إيكات من يوم الجمعة الخادي الليلة، أنا قاعد نتعبوا على حاجات في الفج بتاع البريزدنت بتاعنا تماما، وكمان يعني بقول أعمل فورموشن عشان شنو السلام ده يكون في المال، لأنه أننا دارين زي ذاك، لكن هاي لو البريزدنت بتاعنا دار يعني يكون البلد فوق سلام، والبلد الفوق election, the first election when the South Sudan got independent, let the leaders of the parties commit their heart to be support the President Kiir to be conducted the election, the first election, because our president needs election to be conducted, and our president needs our citizens to be happy when the election conducted. Everyone who know inside he was citizen of South Sudan, there will be a change. But some people on the ground, they need to be committed inside or outside to support President Kiir to conduct election. Second, our church leaders. As I had someone who interviewed him before, Bishop Dengbo, because awareness is the first, and the second is the dialogue. And the third one, to understand ourselves as we are children of South Sudan. But those things, 3 things, they are not yet done. One thing, they are not yet done. Even single word, nothing. Because if we need South Sudan to be peaceful, let we commit ourselves to support our indigeneity and support our vision and support our president's vision so that we can achieve the goal of the South Sudan to the coming generation. That is the way forward. And lastly, from my opinion, I need everyone who is the official government or non-official government to support President Kiir in peace talk, or when you go in your area, go and talk with your relative or family so that they can live what the people do there, like inter-community conflict, to avoid them. Like the side who have conflict, like Dungle and Malakal and side of the Arab, even something cannot happen in northern Barkazal is happen, but we need to aware ourselves as we are citizens. We don't say let the government official come. As you know, you are the South Sudanese, you commit yourself and then you talk to your people so that your people can accept the peace. and that we can bring the election in peaceful way. Another also, where the government commit its power or vision to maintain the security and bring the drug, all the facilities across the country within 10 states and 3 administrative areas and with 79 counties across the country. That is what we achieve. When we do those things, we can achieve, and we can know ourselves as there will be election in December 2026. If not, those things can not happen. We don't know what will be happen in December. So we need our people and we need our government to be joined their hand and do what the country needs. We don't want to do the self-interest, because when I do something for myself, we cannot afford the country.
All right.
To afford the country.
Thank you very much, Ustaz Tolfuk, for being my first caller and at the same time for sharing your thought with us. 0911-022-986 and 986. As we have heard from President Salva Kiir Mayardit, he pledged to restore peace and negotiate with opposition groups to ensure inclusive elections in December 2026. What's your take about that? iRadio.
Radio, how are you?
Community advisor in Madingbor.
Yes, community advisor from Bor.
Good to have you, my brother.
Thank you so much. You brought up a good topic. And we, the citizens of South Sudan, if we cannot think about how to solve the problem of South Sudan, South Sudan will be continue moving like that. And we, the claim Christians, if we cannot leave interest and teach the word of God and teach how God is good with people and how you believe the same, South Sudan will continue like that.
Are you telling us that issues of South Sudan, no problem of South Sudan is spiritually affected or related?
So I know the problem of South Sudan, all of us are involved. You see, the churches have a conflict of interest among themselves, and they are Christians. And the politicians have their interest, and they have conflict with them, and they are people of South Sudan. That's why I say, we, the people of South Sudan, we are the problem. And we usually...
Oh, quite unfortunate. Ahona, community advisor, still you have our studio line, and get back to us on 0911 or 22-986 and 986. iRadio. Well, let's first have a quick break, and after that, when we come back, we shall be seeking your thought on the same line.
Fellow citizens, I have said it time and again that our country will not go back to war. Let no one take law into their hands. The government which I lead will handle this crisis. We will remain steadfast in the path of peace.
Warm welcome back via our Facebook page. A text coming in from James here that is saying, "Hello, Madrama James. I'm watching the show live from Ibazia Jadid Wow Town, Western Bar Al Khazali State. We welcome back our President of the Republic of South Sudan, but our concern is the implementation of the peace agreement. Keep those messages coming." We have Upstar the Sema watching us live from Upper Nile State in Poluch, particularly. Then Juma K joins us live from Gudele 2, watching the show, and is asking, how am I doing in the studio? No problem. iRadio. Yes, sir.
Very evening, my brother.
Yeah, good evening, Joseph. How are you doing?
And welcome back to the studio.
Thank you very much.
A good day to hear our voice today.
Yeah, sure, me too. Mm.
Thank God. My brother, something to do with the revitalized peace agreement, I have seen is not important.
Why not important? Why are you against peace?
Because it is not peace, not me, I'm against peace. It is a revitalized peace agreement was been signed in 2018 and has nothing to do with the peace situation. Because when you go to talk about peace, peace is supposed to start from stop fighting, what so-called ceasefire. But when people start from document, from page 1 to the end, they just sign document, and peace is not being seen by the people. There's no peace on the ground, my brothers. And those politicians became beneficiaries for the peace agreement they are in, of the government benefiting from it, and people are still suffering in that grassroots. Look at this. There is a thing put at this peace agreement, making constitution, making forces, unification of forces. You know, in name of not integration even. And when you talk about all this, and they're going to start to win, they just relax. Government is not relaxed. African Union, which is those who are telling us now to appoint somebody to go and monitoring, they relax there. There's no a way of monitoring that peace is on the ground or not. That one, it is a too late peace to the people of South Sudan. What we wanted is a is that is going to allow people of South Sudan to move, you know, to be free. We are not free in our country. We are like people in prison. Because if you move to the other area, you're being killed there. If you are within, you hide in one place, you are there disturbed by hunger. Look at this. And people are telling us that we are implementing peace. What is kind of peace? That countryside there is a war, like now in Dongle State. It is a rampant war there, and those forces are forces headed by these people who we are signatories of this peace agreement. Our people, let them know that there is a time. There is time to rule people, and there is time to live. So let them be honest with us as a citizen of South Sudan. We need this country to be a peaceful country, because we were in bush to liberate ourselves, not to put others as the problem of the others.
Now, Joseph, yes? You said it's really not important to talk about the revitalized peace agreement, and at the same time you are saying peace is important. Why are you contradicting yourself?
Peace is very important, but revitalized peace agreement is not important. It's being signed in 2018. But how many people died within this peace? Is it peace? It's not peace. I'm talking about revitalized peace agreement. It's not peace. Itself is not peace. Because it's peace that others are in power and they have their escort. They move with the huge escort, huge forces, and they allow citizens to kill themselves by their weapon. You know, you allow weapon to be moved to be taken by the wrongdoers, and you are assumed that to be in power. Do you think I can agree with that peace? I agree with the peace that allowed me to go Western Equatoria freely, allowed me to go Western Upper Nile freely, allowed me to go Eastern Equatoria freely, allowed me to go Buma or Maban freely. Why are we shitting ourselves and saying there is a peace? Peace that is not allowing people to move. Where that peace that is based for?
All right.
So I'm not against peace. I'm against this agreement being signed by looters, people who want to loot in public resources.
All right. Thank you, Joseph.
And power is for the people, my brother.
All right.
It must be elected by the people, the leader of people, delivering services to the people. Power now is grabbed.
All right, thank you. At the moment, to be honest with you, we don't have the equipment or capacity to that is confirm whether powers has been looted or grabbed, but still I appreciate your concern. It's time now for me to talk to one and lucky caller for now before we cross over to another segment.
Itafi mahali pistahiki kumpeu kaligma iRadio ena takum fi Juba Sudan.
Naam, nakud mukhala matani baru iRadio. iRadio.
Hello.
Naam, Emmanuel Panadol.
Yes, sir.
Shune ya hui.
Wala ma batali ita kuis.
Alhamdulillah, marhab.
Alhamdulillah. Nas ma baduna lela.
Naam.
Itaro, ya brother. Leaders pitana, guide kala Mugali. They are implementing the peace agreement. Out and gala belet quiz maka haja dan badal. Lakini na mosnin tab de fi man na baru gal fi masagil fi Sudan. Lakini umon al fi fog yana de umon bikalim gala belet quiz. Lakini na baru gal belet must be halka. Ya kwana eja reis kan biwonu sugali o madera sumakan sor sila fi Sudan. O ya be kun ko jatu lenna lakin kanu wonu sugali o ge implement peace agreement lanu fi intikabat jay kida de ma fi daya fogo ana gaino lanu di masakil masjidam jongole ada gi kore afana gi kore ya ti ya fitana indi gi kore wen kulfi ya kona fe masake yala intikabada albikele mudede nas bomi ya biye shoutu de asajar de ya bi shoutu wala tiyur safo wala haywanat wa haywanat jatu jere
te bahal shino
al hal mina jamo nina mambo di hal je hakuma je reis ya bitala orders bito la sakira al moji le general bito gali keli sibule mo din raha keli korju keli geni kwes iya jor keli rija fi sunu fi belet keli sibu silate nas keli geni fi salam al kwes o nas keli hibu badin jeta jaman de keli tala fi kasma pita reis bitana lanu ni nabiga tabani ya kana makidi yani hasaranta gaen kanda fi Juba manati ta bigai fi Juba o be kun saba sanida biro fiti jate keji na gal minini la fi keji mufin be motor be ajina be sunu maafi o halka so ni na der hagiga de na der salama ko eskel un bele kitana azan kif kilnas ma de reha ta salam wes be bele
na
wada ko ezekeli tala lakin wala ana bad marat kanana jidum bilelu na ana gaenu buat kitana idatil Juba yange ni na fi sijin bi kobara dil wallahi ni na jefi kobara wallahi
shukran
wallahi o sabi na der salam al kois bi bele asan ke ana der reja kurje brother
der kurje shukran Emmanuel Panadol should be my last caller for now. If in case you have just joined us, we have come to the end of our first hour, focusing on the pledge of President Salva Kiir to restore peace and negotiate with opposition groups to ensure inclusive elections in December 2026. Big thanks to Darlington Moses for being behind the social media coverage, and Obacho Kushagawa, the producer of this show. I've been your host, Madrama James.